Hi, my name is Darren, and I am a youth board member at Cleaner for Kids. I'd like to welcome you to our first ever webinar. Thank you so much for attending. It's really exciting for us to be able to share all this information with you. A couple things you might want to know before we start. If you have any questions or interest in helping out, volunteering, that kind of thing, just shoot us a message in the chat and we'll get back to you. Also, if you raise your hand, then there's a raising your hand feature and we'll know that you have something to say to the presenter. If you have interest beyond what we say in this webinar, you can visit our website, cleanearthforkids.org, or contact Suzanne, our founder, s@cleanearthforkids.org. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Leanna.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Leanna. I'm also a youth board member with Cleaners for Kids, and I co-lead Team 1 for climate action, sustainability, and renewable energy. So today I was just going to briefly update everyone about climate action plans. And if you do not know what a climate action plan is, it is a comprehensive and detailed framework for cities, schools, etc., on how that individual city or school or whatnot can actually lower greenhouse gas emissions and related climate impacts. And I'm going to pull up a visual for you guys. Let me just. Okay. So here I have the Climate Action Campaign does a yearly Climate Action Plan report card, and this is in relevance to the surrounding areas in San Diego. So we have City of San Diego, Encinitas, La Mesa, Solana Beach, Del Mar, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, Carlsbad, Oceanside, National City, Escondido, and so on. So for me personally, I work on a lot of things regarding the Vista Climate Action Plan, which is in progress to be implemented. But as far as the ones that are already implemented, we see the silver is for City of San Diego, Encinitas, and La Mesa. And then we have the bronze for Solana Beach, Del Mar, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, Carlsbad. And then we have gold. There's no cities for gold just quite yet. But bronze is one of the lower levels, silver is kind of the middle, and gold is the highest as far as the system goes. But there's participation acknowledgement for Oceanside and National City. And it goes into no adopted climate action plans, such as in progress, Escondido, San Marcos, Vista, and so forth. I think an important one to note is that fatally flawed climate action plans are County of San Diego, Santee, and El Cajon. So the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is during this whole COVID-19 situation, a lot of the meetings for climate action plan updates, implementation plans, city council meetings, and so forth are being canceled because obviously social distancing and all those related things. However, I think it's important to realize that you can still be in contact with your city representatives and such as to what you would like to be added onto climate action plans, what you think needs to be adopted, what you think needs to be taken out, and so forth, or how strongly you feel about one particular thing on it. It's important that you can still write emails, you can still write letters, and we have a lot of resources at cleanersforkids.org regarding climate action plans, and a little bit of samples for school districts, samples for cities, and I think you can view those and kind of see and compare them to your city's climate action plan, or if your school district does not have one, and so forth. For Vista and Oceanside and whatnot, I think an important thing Cleaner for Kids has been trying to do is get a no idling resolution onto those climate action plans, because a lot of them do not have that, and just overall strengthening the climate action plans, because they can definitely be more comprehensive, hence why there's no cities underneath the goal of climate action plans. and as well as getting a climate action plans for school districts. Recently, Oceanside Unified and Vista Unified and San Diego Unified School District, they all have climate action resolutions, or like no idling resolutions, and I believe San Diego Unified came up with like a climate action resolution that's specified for kids being able to participate in more like events involving climate related things in schools, which is really, really important. But I think, again, like I mentioned, I think it's important that during this time we still stay persistent and still try to get the things that we want on these climate action plans, because I think while the COVID-19 might slow down a lot of things, this is something that we can still pursue actively. I do, in the future, we do want to do a seminar going more into detail surrounding certain climate action plans, comparing the two, and just kind of doing our own rating perhaps as a group and as one. So for right now, with that brief introduction surrounding climate action plans, I will open the floor to any questions anybody might have surrounding climate action plans, specifically ones that are near us or anything revolving them. So I'm going to check right now if there are any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, so one of the questions was asked by Dawn. Thank you so much. Our John Whalen, fabulous nurse and great friend to all of us. She asked, how do you get a climate action plan started? And also, can you give a few more examples of what kinds of things are on climate action plans?
Okay, so I think a few key things to climate action plans are how it's going to impact businesses, main just city municipals and such, and a lot of housing and like sustainability revolving housing and energy sources. So a lot of things that a lot of people would like to add to climate action plans revolve around energy sources, because obviously energy is really highly linked to things such as greenhouse gas reduction. So a great example of something that people might incorporate into a climate action plan is community choice energy, which allows more than one energy source to be, it makes renewable energy sources more accessible to the general public, as it doesn't allow for one single energy company to kind of monopolize on the rest of the citizens, and allows for them to choose more sustainable sources, renewable sources such as solar and whatever might be more readily available in those areas. Another component could be things surrounding the city. So any new city buildings must be that are created must meet a certain standard. They must have solar panels on it, for example, or they must meet in these certain requirements. Another city component could be tree planting. A lot of climate action plans do not have enough trees planting ideas in them, or if they do want to plant trees, it's very little, not enough to make a substantial cut in greenhouse gas reduction as the plan would like to do. Another component is just sort of how green businesses work. So allowing businesses to become more sustainable, more green, giving them those options, giving them incentives. Incentivizing a lot of things is also another great thing in a lot of climate action plans. As far as trying to get a climate action plan within your city, I think it starts definitely going to representatives. City council meetings usually have public comment. We speak a lot in public comments all the time through Clean for Kids. You will most likely see us at most meetings. But as far as that goes, I think it's important to stress your concern for why your city needs a climate action plan by speaking to representatives, whether that's stating problems that you might have. So say air pollution is really bad in your area, that's something that you can know, and how it affects the health of workers or just children. Another thing you may possibly talk about is how the city can save money during certain things, because a lot of cities believe that within certain standards that non-renewable energy sources can actually can be of more financial abundance, I guess you could say. But if you there's a lot of resources that are out there that you can use to kind of back up your argument that a lot of things on the climate action plan can actually save the city money, and not only saving the money, it can also reduce its impacts. So I think, like I said, starting at the city level, talking to city council members, emailing them, trying to work with them and such. And there's also a lot of commissions that you can also talk to, commission members, as well as trying to find, I guess, like environmental organizations in your community, or just like trying to, unify with like-minded people to, strengthen your the value of your opinion to city council members, because sadly they don't always take individual comments like that and so forth.
And also, Leanna, you can share about our action plan on cleanearthforkids.org. We have looked at aspects of reducing greenhouse gases through transportation and many other ways. And we're really excited to share about reducing greenhouse gases through the state of California, through our California Air Resources Board grant, where we'll be putting no idling signs. I can't wait for you to hear about what Judith is doing, about Hannah's essay and resolution, and how we got everything going, and hear the poetry of Kevin and all of the important things that these guys are doing. They're so incredible. So I'm so sorry. Continue, Leanna.
Did we get any more questions? Or I can go on more about transportation, if that's a thing.
Sure. So do you want to share a bit about transportation, and then have Hannah talk about what she's done with, her 6 reasons why school districts should have no idling resolutions, and explaining what no idling is. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'll do kind of just like a brief little info session about transportation and how it connects to greenhouse gas reduction, and especially in climate action plans. I can't believe I forgot that component. But essentially, obviously, a lot of people, especially in California, use a lot of gas from vehicles. The city uses a lot of vehicles and so forth. So a big thing is available, making the audio setting out, or is that good? It says my internet connection's unstable.
Yeah, for me, you're kind of going in and out of like a robot.
Okay, what we could do, no, that's okay. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and take it over to Hannah. So Leanna, do you want to go ahead and introduce Hannah? Thank you. And Dawn said, by the way, great job, great explanation, and you're getting a lot of positive feedback. Thank you so much. So yes, if you can go ahead and introduce Hannah, that would be great.
Yes, so we do not have anybody from Team 2 today regarding trees, wildlife, and public lands and such. But we do have someone from Team 3, so I'm going to introduce and pass the mic, per se, to Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Smith. I'm the leader of Team 3 for No Idling. So for No Idling, it's basically car exhaust pipe leaking out when you leave your car engine on. 1 minute of idling has more carbon monoxide than 3 packs of cigarettes. The idling causes air pollution, which no idling contains carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and benzene. And then we're in school districts. I've been getting no idling resolutions passed in Oceanside Unified School District and Vista Unified School District. So what we're doing is having a contest for students to make no idling signs and post it around campuses to have teenagers and other adults who are driving to not use so much, or to not idle in the parking lot when their kids are outside because it's very harmful to kids. And thank you. And then I'd like to present the board to Judith. She's done art for No Idling, so here's Judith.
I thought it was Kevin.
Go ahead, sweetheart. So Judith, go ahead and share your, would you like Darren to share your no idling video?
Should I go on share my screen or not?
Sure. Yeah, no, that'd be fabulous. Yes, if you can share your screen, that's great. And we can also share your video.
Okay. Let me share it. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen, Judith. Great. So
Okay.
we can't see your no idling poster though. We see something in the front of that, Judith.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. So hello, I'm Judith. I am the artist of Clean Earth for Kids.
Okay, so Judith is, we're unable to hear Judith right now. So her internet must be having a little problem. Here is one of the no idling signs that she has created. The sign will be posted on metal and as Hannah said, put on school campuses and in cities to remind people to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change and also toxic air pollution. So Kevin's going to talk to us a little bit about air pollution. So Kevin, if you can go ahead and take the screen, and then later we can watch Judith's video. Darren will put that on for us in a little bit. So Kevin, can you talk to us about air pollution?
Yeah, so I have a slide for that. Let me pull it out. Share. Okay. Okay. Does everyone see this? Is this good?
So Kevin, you want to give a little bit of background about your future goals and why this is important to you?
Yeah, I want to be a nurse when I'm trying to get into nursing school right now, and well, I already got accepted, so this is really important for me because it helps me like understand how the environment can affect the human body, and it's really interesting. I researched this and I had a lot of fun putting this together. Okay, so the effects of air pollution, it's not just the human body, it's also the environment, it's also ecosystems. They're also all affected, and that really hurts us in the long run. So here you go, next one. So there are quite a few sources of air pollution. It varies per state, but industry and energy are pretty big for every state. Transportation is probably one of the biggest problems. Everyone needs transportation. Everyone needs a car to get around, and so it kind of makes sense that transportation is big. And so California is one of the most polluted communities because we're a big state. We have a lot of highways. We have a lot of people and we need to get around. So there's just a lot of cars and oh gosh. So we really need to do something about that. And one of the biggest things that, well, let me just explain why transportation and highways are one of the main sources of air pollution. Is because driving requires, cars require diesel fuel, and when it's used to create energy for your car to move, it releases byproducts, and those byproducts, they're not good for the environment. And when everyone drives at the same time, everyone creates this air pollution, and more driving is more air pollution. So more highways also means what? Okay. So more highways is more pollution. More highways for more people means more people will drive on them, and then there will be more traffic or the same traffic. Some people think that building more highways means that there will be less traffic, but that's not really true, because it's a very short-term solution, and after a while more people will start driving on that highway, and then the traffic will be the same again, and then it causes more demand for highways. It's called induced demand, and I found it interesting. So the particles from car exhaust, they're really small and they can enter the body. The human body has a lot of protection from particles. You have your nose, you have your platelets, but when something is that small, when something is 2.5 microns, it can easily enter no matter what your body does to protect itself. And so that causes respiratory illnesses, like the most common one is asthma, but I read somewhere that it could cause ozone thickening, or ozone. And when the particles enter you, like platelets platelets will come into contact with them, and they'll form clots in your bloodstream, and that's not good for you, and that's not good for anybody. And so we really need to do something about that. Well, okay. Oh my gosh. So the carbon cycle. We have this carbon cycle, and a lot of human emissions, well, it's usually like this, but because we have a major impact, we disturb a lot of things. So it causes algal blooms. If you see it on the news, well, recently or over the past few years, you've heard algal blooms just popping up. I remember hearing about algal blooms in China. There was a lot of those. Acid rain, air pollution from transportation can cause acid rain and when acid rain does fall down, it causes the water to be more acidic, and that kills life. It also disrupts food chains because, well, algal blooms eat away other food sources, other organisms' food sources, and there's a lot of things in air pollution that can damage life. Oh gosh, so it takes a long time for the problem to fix itself, as particulate matter like carbon dioxide, benzene, and other things like, I think I read somewhere, CHC, it stays in the air for hundreds of years. So there are several solutions to this. You could drive less. Just do it when you need to. You don't need to drive for fun. You can carpool. One of the main things is not idling, because idling for a minute is more than 3 packs of cigarettes. And there's like Liana said, you can try action plans, and you can try to go for to support alternatives to driving, like upgrading the Amtrak, biking or hiking instead of driving. But driving is still, well, transportation is really important. So we can find alternatives to that then. So were you gonna say?
Yeah, Kevin, this is John. Don was asking about, Santa Barbara is a clean city. They have incentives as a city to not drive. The streets are marked for bike safety, and public transit is very inexpensive, and some are even free. Do you think this model could be replicated in other communities to help reduce pollution? And also, Niels was wanting to know, have you heard about San Diego County SANDAGs? They're five big moves to get cars off the road.
No,
you want to talk about? Okay, so you want to first talk about do you think that that's a good model for Santa Barbara? What Don, the ideas that Don was sharing that Santa Barbara is doing to help give incentives for less driving?
Yeah, I do think it could be followed. I don't really know the details because this is the first time I've heard of it, but I'm going to look into it later.
Yeah, that's great. And also SANDAG, 5 big moves. We had a workshop on this. You guys were studying very hard, and I'm super proud of you guys. We had a workshop through North County Climate Change Alliance about 5 big moves, and some other groups have done it as well. So we'll definitely be sharing that information with you. I know that you are studying the effects of air pollution on the human body, and you have a lot of information preparing for your nursing, and congrats getting into San Diego State. It's amazing, fantastic. I'm super excited. So we'll be learning more about those alternatives and SANDAG. So that was really awesome. So thank you so much, Kevin. And so Kevin, do you want to introduce Janice?
Oh yeah, Janice is also co-leads with me and Hannah in Team 3. So Janice, I'm giving you the mic. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Janice. I'm with Team 4, actually. So I'm the coordinator for Team 4, and Team 4 is about
Team. Yes, you also have done some important work on all teams, and that's why Kevin mentioned that. And Judith, I apologize to you that we did not show your commercial. Darren did not show what you have done for no idling, but we will do that after Janice. So go ahead, Janice.
Okay. So let me just get my share screen on. Okay. So, as I said, hi, I'm Janice. I'm the coordinator for Team 4. Team 4 is protecting our waters from offshore drilling, fracking, oil spills, and pipeline dangers, while also protecting the clean water we drink. Please feel free to write down any questions in the Q&A box or in the chats, and after I'm finished with my presentation, I'll address any questions we have. So in 1972, President Nixon signed the Clean Water Act, which established a national commitment to protect our nation's waters. And the Clean Water Act regulates discharges of pollutants, and as well as regulates the quality standards for our surface waters in the US. However, it's very unfortunate that because of our current administration, they are rolling back protections for air, water, and land. There have been 95 rollbacks since 2016 of air pollution and emissions, drilling and extraction, infrastructure and planning, things for animals, toxic substances and safety, and water pollution. Okay, and so for World Water Day and the United Nations Sustainability Goal, water scarcity is affecting more than 40% of our population. And it's going to continue to rise as the temperature steadily increases. 71% of the global population, which is 5.2 billion people, had safely managed drinking water in 2015. But 844 million people still lacked even basic drinking water, like Flint, Michigan, for example. Even though about 2.1 billion people have improved their water sanitation since 1990, dwindling water supplies are still affecting every continent. In 2015, 4.5 billion people lacked safely managed sanitation services with enough disposed or treated feces, and 2.3 billion lacked even basic sanitation. More and more countries are experiencing water stress due to increasing drought or desertification. They said that by 2050, 1 in 4 people will suffer from reoccurring water shortages. And water stress currently is affecting more than 2 billion people. So just imagine how much more people will affect in 2050. To continue, I'm going to be talking about Standing Rock and things that have happened with the Standing Rock access pipeline. So in 2016, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe protested the construction of the Dakota Access of the Standing Rock pipeline access. And they protested it because it lacked environmental impact assessments. It was a huge threat to the region's drinking water and also one of their burial sites. People protesting the pipeline were shot with water cannons and freezing temperatures for trying to protect their water, while militarized guards were sent to guide the pipeline to its destination. It was first denied by President Barack Obama, but was approved by President Donald J. Trump after President Obama was removed from office. The pipeline was supposed to be placed in Bismarck, North Dakota, a predominantly white area, but people there complained that the access pipeline would be a hazard to their water systems. And also the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said that it would be 11 miles long and they wanted it to be shorter. The pipeline has already spilled 400,000 gallons of oil, which is about 10,000 barrels of oil. But however, in good news, recently, the federal court granted a request by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe to strike down the federal permits for the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline. And the court found the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers violated the National Environmental Policy Act when it affirmed federal permits for the pipeline issued in 2016. Specifically, the court found significant unresolved concerns about the potential impacts of oil spills and the likelihood that one could take place, which it did. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe chairman, Mike Faith, said, after years of commitment to defending our waters and earth, we welcome this news as a significant legal win. It is humbling to see how actions we took 4 years ago to defend our ancestral homeland continue to inspire national conversations about how our choices ultimately affect this planet. And we were reaching out to you to go to Iron Eyes, who is a Native American water protector, and her family, and she's on the Youth Working for Change board at the for the Cleaner for Kids website. And people could also help us with filling out petitions, meeting with people to help protect our waters, as we did to help ban offshore drilling on both coasts. I also want to give a thank you to Amelie. She's been a big support with our water team and being a top person to look for with our waters. And I also have a video of what had happened at Standing Rock. If it will play. As you can see, they're being sprayed by hoses of freezing water, like I mentioned. And you can already see it's during nighttime and it's already freezing cold. And they're simply protecting their ancestors' homes. And then tribes from all over the U.S. came to support the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and help them defend their ancestral lands. So you guys can see how many people came over there, and I know that Suzanne wanted to go over there and help support because she's always right on that. And it's a really big deal that many people don't really know unless they're told about it, and it's just a topic that needs to be mentioned. So I'll stop this video. And then, do you guys have any questions for me?
That was just fantastic. I'm sure we all have tears in our eyes, and the best news, right? Thank you so much in this time where so many of us are worried about, so many things, especially, our restaurant workers and people, small businesses that are closed during this COVID-19. Just knowing that there has been some good news, of course, Cleaner for Kids, and we have been on top of what was going on at Standing Rock from the beginning, like Janice said, and very committed to this. So this is amazing news, and we're really excited to be reaching out to Chase Iron Eyes, his daughter Dakota Iron Eyes, and all of Lakota Law that we have supported, and all of our Native American friends throughout the country and Indigenous peoples throughout the world. This is a huge victory for all of us because water is life. So anyway, Denise, thank you. That was outstanding. So what I would like to do is answer a question, but I can't see the whole text right here, John, because the way the panelists are. So hold on one second, and I'm going to answer a question. Denise, I've got a question for you real quick, and then we're going to hear from Amelie, and we're going to hear from Neil, two of our supporters, and in just a moment. So I'm going to answer Don's question. So Don's question is what? Oh, I can't see the screen anymore, but I think it was talking about right here. Okay, what actions could be taken? This is Don Whalen, my BFF. Okay, what actions could be taken to promote alternate energy sources? I see many areas attempting to use corn for fuel, windmills, and solar energy. It's very important to become energy independent from other countries. But what do you think holds us back from more development of fuel sources? So Janice, I know, John just went like this with the money sign, it's like this. And so yes, of course, we are really disappointed in this budget time are with the money that was granted through this COVID-19, that we're not able to put more people back to work through renewable energy sources. So ideally, we would be retraining our workers that are out in the oil fields and our coal workers, and have that be a top priority for us. If we have the money to do so many other things, for example, the fossil fuel industry gets 10 times the subsidies of public education. If we've got the money to give billionaires tax cuts, then we have the money to put people back to work in jobs that are safe. We don't want anybody's face in a coal mine or these oil workers. What are they supposed to do? We need to retrain them. And that's only, we must do that and develop, just like Mark C. Jacobson from Stanford has talked about how solar, wind, water, so many of the other technologies that are available and can be seen, electric cars, using Tesla, all the great technology that's here. We need to subsidize this and make it available for people, make it available for all of us, right? So middle income, working poor, all of these things, because really we've got to protect our air, our water, and come up with these important solutions. Janice, would you like to add anything there?
Nope, I think you said it beautifully.
Okay, all right. Emily, would you like to share, Emily, would you like to talk a minute, introduce yourself? You're a consultant for Cleaners for Kids, a water expert. You have expertise in solar. Actually, all of our 6 teams, really, so amazing. So I don't have the panel screen right now, John, to be able to see that, but I believe, Emily, that we promoted you to a panelist so that you can speak. I don't see your audio.
Yeah, panelists.
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't see your face on my screen, and that's okay. Your screen is not being shared right now. That's fine, or you can share it. But if you'd like to,
yeah.
Okay. So Emily, if you'd like to speak a minute about what you do and why water is important, that would be great.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm very glad to see how everything is going, and I'm impressed by the students. They're doing a great job. So guys, that's amazing what you are doing. So so my name is Amélie Cataline, and I'm very excited to be working with Cleaners for Kids as a consultant and helping them. So my specialty is on water, and because through my work I focus more how the San Diego region can become more resilient. So it has been mentioned by Janice, for example, that people are around the world are experiencing water scarcity. I mean, we are lucky here in San Diego. We are in a place where most of the people have water, and it's running water from the tap, and we take that for granted. However, it's a lot imported from far away. And we don't see the full impact of climate change. And because most of our water, so about 75% of our water is imported, we rely on a source that is at risk of climate change. And so by looking at reinforcing our local sources, we can become more resilient and being more sustainable in the future and about how we use our water. And this starts with first reducing our water consumption, but then also harvesting water when we can and reusing it. And a thing that is important is also being able to not assign, but use, match the source of water to an end use, so that we don't over-treat water. Like, for example, using potable water for flushing toilets is kind of the one thing that it's, I mean, why are we doing that? It's a nonsense, but we are doing that. So there are a lot of things like that we can think more and think outside of the box to find alternative ways of using water and becoming more resilient. So that's my focus, and I really hope that I can provide that expertise to Cleaners for Kids and the team for the future.
Yay! Yay! And all teams, thank you so much. Yes,
Welcome.
Denise, doesn't it just warm your heart? We have these amazing consultants like Emily, so warm-hearted. And so now we'd like to hear from Niels. Niels is also with Emily. Emily is the president of the Solana Beach Echo Rotary. She is in Sierra Club, and everyone knows Emily as just a giant in the environmental field. Niels is a person who's done very important things as well in Eco Rotary. And so Niels, you're pretty dark right now. I don't know if you can, we just see your shadow. I don't know if we can see you a little better.
Oh, there he is.
There you are. Hi, Niels.
So is that better?
Talk, yeah, can you
Oh,
talk
my.
about what
So-
you're, yeah, can you talk about, as Janice was talking about, you know, with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 6, Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 6, is talking about an effort of the United Nations to make sure that people have clean drinking water and also sanitation. And you have been involved in a very important project, international project, as you know, we're in Rotary, and the important things that Rotary is doing, and we're very excited about Echo Rotary, and hope that this will become a model internationally for across the world. Can you talk about what you're doing with Latrines for Life and some of those things?
Sure, I'll be very happy to talk a little bit about that. Latrines for Life is a nonprofit organization that I started some time ago, and it builds latrines in Cambodia, over in Southeast Asia, for very poor members of rural communities there in that country. The thing about Cambodia is that in their history, their culture, they typically, many in years past, don't use latrines for eliminating body waste. They essentially use the fields. And that's what they've done for generations. And what's happening is that as more and more people end up in the country, as the population increases, it becomes a real serious problem. And so it's kind of a culture change that has to happen. And it is starting to happen. We're talking about the rural areas, not the city, but the rural areas where there's lots of space and so on. But latrines are coming in, and they have been for several years. And so we, as this nonprofit, decided to help people who want a latrine. So what we do is we provide a latrine, essentially a pit in the ground for body waste, right? And then there's sort of a kind of a commode area, a squatting commode, inside a little enclosure for privacy. And then the waste goes from there into a tube into the pit. And so they get the latrine, and then the family also gets a hand washing station, which is essentially very simple. It's a plastic jug on a stick which you tip, and then the water comes out, and you can wash your hands with running water, which is the important thing, because if you just have a basin of water, then you transfer germs from one person to another. So they get the tippy, called the tippy tap, hand washing station, and then they also get a water filter for filtering water, so they have clean drinking water. So it's a full, complete sanitation program. In addition, they also get instructions on how to use the water filter, the importance of washing hands after you've gone to the bathroom. So that's what we do, and we build, we call it an installation. They get the latrine, the hand washing station, and the water filter. You get those three things. We call that an installation. We do 4 of those every month in Cambodia. And we have several board members, including myself, who have gone to Cambodia and visited the project over there. We have staff in Cambodia that manages everything. The workers are Cambodian people and so on. So that's basically the nuts and bolts of how the thing works. Just, you might be interested to know that a donation of $250 puts in an installation for a poor family. And we get money from various Rotary clubs, we get money from various donors, and so we are able to maintain doing about 4 of these installations every month. And we've done about close to about 200 now. Any more questions?
I wanted to say thank you, Niels, for all that your important work on so many projects, including Latrines for Life. And Clean Earth for Kids is happy to be donating one of those installation sites for $250. So we'll make sure to get that to you at the end of today, so that we can do that. Yes, of course. And so on behalf of all of us at Clean Earth for Kids, we really appreciate all that you're doing. Thank you so much. It's so important, as you had said before. You know, dignity. So important to be able to meet people where they are and help them out how we can. So thank you again so much.
Well, Suzanne,
so that's so important.
Thank you for that comment. Let me just wrap up a little thing here and tell you that when you do donate like that, what I'm going to be doing then is the money, once the money goes over there, we will know exactly the family that gets helped with this money, and they will give a comment and thank you specifically, Clean Earth for Kids, but they will know where the money's coming from. And there will be photos of the family that's receiving the latrine that you donated, and I will send those photos to you so you can see exactly how the money is being used.
Yeah, that's so fabulous, and that's so fabulous to be able to have that honor to support that family. So great. So
Dawn asked, do they require moving the hole?
Let's see, be a little more specific. Do they require moving the hole? What does that mean?
Probably for the installation. So so from where they are, I'm taking it as from where they're currently using the bathroom, do they move it to a location that, you know, that works for the family, and how is that determined?
The latrine is built basically right next to where they live. Yeah, it's just right there next to where they live, and so it works out very convenient. And usually works out that neighbors close by can sort of also use it, so they kind of help each other in that way.
They clarified, and they said it is cholera, hepatitis A, or other bacteria problem against the people. Do they fill up and then move it later?
Oh yeah, a very good point. That's a good question. What happens is the latrine is actually built with that in mind. It's actually a double pit system. So there are actually not just one pit, there's actually 2. And so the way it works is that once the first one fills up, right, then the pipe that goes from the commode area is shifted, and then it goes to the second pit. And then after a couple of years, once the second pit fills up, in the meantime, they can empty the first one, because once the human waste dries over a period of a year or more, it can then be used safely for fertilizer. And that's the point. So then they dig out the first one, and then when the second one fills up, the pipe goes back to the first one. That's how it works.
Okay, yes, and Dawn's comment, Dawn is a nurse, so, and we're so lucky to have so many fabulous nurses, retired nurses, doctors, and other people who check in with us periodically. So yeah, great question. Thank you so much for that question, and we can definitely connect you with Niels to learn more about Latrines for Life. And also, you know, we love being a part of Rotary International, because we know that there's so many important projects going on with education, water, all kinds of things throughout the world. So we're very proud about that. Also, love working with Emily and Niels in Sierra Club, and all the important work that Sierra Club is doing, working with Surfrider.
Let me add let me
Yep.
add just one thing. Those of you who are interested in more information about Latrines for Life, just go on the website, which is latrinesforlife.org. Go there, you'll all kinds of information, more than you'll ever want to know.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And we didn't give you enough notice to have any music to close us out. But what we'll do is we're going to go to Darren, and Darren's going to talk and do a bit of share her information and all that she's doing. And so we'll go there, and then after Darren, you can share Judith's commercial for the K-12 contest for art. I mean, we obviously have art, music, etc., and writing. So, okay, Darren, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm going to share my screen really quickly so we can all be on the same page. Okay. So tonight I'm going to be talking about toxins and specifically legislation related to toxic chemicals and pesticides. So the reasons that we should care about toxic chemicals and pesticides is because they are threats to public health. As I'll get into, a lot of them have very horrible effects on human health, and especially on a large scale. This also leads into equity. It's an equity issue because a lot of people in underprivileged communities are often forced to live by agriculture and other areas where they use pesticides. And they can't afford to leave. So that would be another reason. And finally, pesticides and other toxic chemicals have adverse effects on our environment. They can disrupt ecosystems, reduce biodiversity. It is known that some pesticides can change the gender of frogs. Some are killing bees, killing bats, so a lot of bad things. Okay, so the next slide, I will be talking about AB 468, which is a proposition to ban pesticides and herbicides containing glyphosate and other toxic chemicals in schools in California. Glyphosate is a compound that is used in Roundup and is used in other things, but it's the most used chemical and pesticides in America. In the short term, if you just have contact with it once or twice, you can get skin irritation, nausea, a lot of things that are unpleasant in the moment, but with prolonged exposure, which is what children in schools would be exposed to, it can cause liver damage, endocrine destruction, and it also is linked to cancer, especially in children because their concentration of the pesticide, if it is ingested, is more concentrated. Okay. So the next thing I'll be talking about is the CARE Act. Basically, this will tighten regulations around children labor laws in agriculture especially. There's some loopholes that allow children under 18 to work unlimited hours in the agriculture sector, which is bad because of the labor that's required, but also it poses health concerns like pesticide poisoning. Children are often working in agriculture to support their family, and so that may take precedence over their education. And if they are sacrificing their education to earn money for their family, then they may have less opportunities for their future, and it turns into a vicious cycle where they may rely on their children's labor to feed their family. So as long as we prioritize their education, it gives them an opportunity to escape that. Okay, so in California, we've already banned chlorpyrifos, and it's banned in a lot of other states, but we believe that it should be banned nationally. Oh, 2 other states? Okay. Oh, okay. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency originally proposed a federal ban, but it's backtracked a little bit with our new administration. It's bad because it causes nervous system damage and brain damage, especially in children. Something that's interesting to note about this chemical in particular is that the chemical itself isn't toxic, but when the body ingests it and reacts to it, it creates a toxin, and it blocks enzymes. So those are the resulting effects with prolonged exposure. Okay, so let's talk about the Oceanside IPM. They recently passed an IPM, which is an integrated pest management plan, in order to reduce the use of pesticides. So obviously that would be a big pro of this IPM. It makes the pesticides the last resort in killing weeds and other pests. Other environmentally friendly alternatives could be like manual labor or not weeding at all, just letting them grow, since they're not in places where they're not affecting the public as much. One of the cons is that it's very easy to approve the use of pesticides. You don't have to go very far up the hierarchy to have someone approve pesticides if they believe that they are necessary. So we would like to see that changed. Another thing is that they did not approve one of the options that would have introduced a contract for manual weed removal, which would have eliminated the use of pesticides altogether, basically, since there would be no excuse not to just use manual labor. Okay, so finally, I want to talk about Oceanside synthetic turf. Oceanside wants to install several synthetic turf fields. Synthetic turf is bad because it contains 5 known carcinogens, including benzene and I think lead. It also contains PFAs, which are a toxic compound. They can cause a variety of health risks. It includes high cholesterol, thyroid disease, weight gain, decreased fertility and pregnancy-induced hypertension, decreases in birth weight, decreased vaccine response in ulcerative colitis, endocrine disruption in ADHD, or it's correlated with those things. Synthetic turf will contain allergens like latex, so some kids won't be able to play on the field at all. It also is nearly impossible to recycle. There's only one facility in Denmark that actually recycles them, and other people that say they recycle them just basically mean that they reuse the materials, so it never actually gets like restored to a better condition. So rundown synthetic turf fields will just be forced to be in use for a long amount of time. So I also want to talk about what you can do. A lot of these legislative propositions are not passed yet, so it's really important to talk to your representatives, especially for the more local things like synthetic turf, IPM, things pertaining to California, just because you have more influence as a member of that community than you do as the nation as a whole. Another thing you can do is when the city council meetings start up again, you can go to those and express your support for all of the legislation that will be reducing the use of pesticides. You can also introduce more a lifestyle that would reduce your use of toxins, like just being aware of where your food comes from and where pesticides can be found in places other than food, like your children's school or something like that. So yeah.
Great job. Thank you so much, Darren, and thank you so much for the important work that you're doing. All the letters you're writing, Darren is in charge of the letter writing campaign and emails, and she has emailed along with Geneve, Leanna, Kevin, Hannah, Judith. Many of our youth board and others have written important letters and emails to representatives and really made a huge difference. they're meeting with Congressman Mike Levin and others, city council people, to really, like I said, make a huge difference. So thank you so much for that. And we have a synthetic turf expert who's a retired nurse. Her name is Diane Wolke, and she has put in about 7 days a week. I don't even know if it's 6 or 7 hours a day. She is putting in so much time. So the research is evolving and changing, especially in plastics. More and more, if I can see that, more and more, we're getting more and more information as time goes, as Darren said, about, the initials are PFAS, but people in the know and all of our science people are telling us like PFAS, and anyway, represent a class of over 5,000 chemicals. And we're learning more and more about the dangers of those. So yes, synthetic turf, with all of the toxic things that Darren is talking about, they're finding more and more carcinogens all the time. So one of our sources has been quoted at 11. It was 5 and continuing to grow because there are so many unknown chemicals. And when chemicals come together and the way that they react in an environment changes. So also the cost of synthetic turf, so expensive. Darren put together a great video about why no synthetic turf, and if we have time, we'll be able to show that to you. Darren, do you want to cue that up and show that real quick?
The
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be perfect. And then we will hear. Go ahead.
And also Judith.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And then we will, and then we will hear from Judith and watch her video. And we're so excited. We think this is being recorded through Zoom, and so we can take bits and pieces. Darren is an excellent editor of videos, so we'll be able to show these things through YouTube and all those kinds of stuff. You can cut my part out, but yeah. Anyway, all right, Darren, if you'll take it away, that would be great, and show your the video you created. That would be fabulous.
Audio sync up, but I'll try.
Okay.
Look at this beautiful part. Did you know that they want to replace this with synthetic turf? Plastic?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Hume, Cleaners for Kids. We're all working really hard to stop this synthetic turf from coming into this park.
I'm here to say no to fake grass in our parks because they can release harmful chemicals that babies or kids can inhale or eat.
Synthetic turf contains toxic chemicals that can seriously harm one's health, especially children and students, who are the ones that would be using the fields. For example, PFAs, a type of compound used in synthetic turf, are linked to high cholesterol, thyroid disease, decreased fertility, and pregnancy-induced hypertension, decreased vaccine response, and ulcerative colitis, ADHD, among other things. Latex is also found in synthetic turf and can cause horrible reactions for people with serious allergies to it. Additionally, the crumb rubber, used to provide a cushion for players on the field, contains at least 5 known carcinogens: cadmium, benzene, nickel, chromium, and arsenic.
As an athlete, I might be tripping a lot on that field, and I really don't want to be tasting the taste of cancer on the floor. I don't want to scrape my elbows, my knees, my hands on something that could get into my bloods and ruin me later in life. The synthetic grass will not try to maintain its temperature, unlike real grass. Living organisms everywhere, they all try to maintain a certain temperature to live. Synthetic grass is not living, and it will get hotter and hotter to a point where it can melt and it will burn. When dogs or when my shoes touch that turf, it's going to stick onto my shoes, it's going to ruin my shoes, and then I need to buy more, or it could hurt my feet as well. And I do not want that happening.
It is said that synthetic turf reaches a heat of 20 to 50 degrees higher than the temperature outside, which causes heat strokes, migraines, and dehydration or burns.
Each field costs between $1 and $2 million. It would be $14 million, not including the cleaning that would need to take place.
Why waste money on fake grass when you could use it for more important things? For kids, for example.
Instead of approving synthetic turf, we ask Oceanside to use money to restore the grass, provide play structures, equipment, and benches for children and families.
So please, keep it natural. Care enough about our kids to do the right thing. Stand up and say no to synthetic turf and fake grass. Thank you so much.
If you'd like to support our parks, you can go to the Oceanside City Council meeting on March 11th at 5 and talk about the IPM, which would affect the pesticides and other things that are going into our natural grass.
Thank you. Here to say we got 6th grade too, so we can save the day. We have renewable energy so we can stop all this pollution and greenhouse gases that our cars are producing. We have climate action plans so we can plan to help save our earth without the help of this bad synthetic turf.
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. I love it. That was awesome. Okay, awesome. All right, so Judith, we're going to hear from Judith.
Should I play the video?
Hello, it's Judith, artist of CleanEarthForKids.org, and I'm inviting you guys to participate in our K-12 CleanEarthForKids.org contests, such as creating art, music, writing poems, doing presentations, STEM projects, and making video clips about why protecting our air, oceans, forests, wildlife, and public lands are important. And after that, you submit it to our website. And as you can see in our website, CleanEarthForKids.org, I have drawn these 2 no idling signs. These no idling signs will then be placed as a reminder for people to turn off their engines when they're parked waiting for their kids. And especially because car exhaust is dangerous for kids to breathe in, resulting to many health problems. This is why I have created these signs to bring awareness for people who are unaware of these real-world problems and how we can prevent them. Anyone can make a difference, so please join CleanEarthForKids.org.
And on that fabulous note, I'd like to have Darren have us close. Thank you so much for joining us for our first official webinar panel discussion. I'm so proud of these guys. They're so amazing. And thank you to our fantastic consultants and all of you for being here and for all you do. We absolutely appreciate you. So Darren, if you can say a few words and have us close, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I would like to thank everyone who joined us today, our panelists, our attendees, everyone who asked questions and was engaging with our material, and all the people who will be watching this on a recorded version on YouTube. If you have any interest in what we've been talking about, like I said before, please visit cleanearthforkids.org or contact us. s@cleanearthforkids.org is the email you can contact us at. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So should we all give a big goodbye in the wave? Thank you again so much for everything, you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, we'll be on next week.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night,
Bye, guys.
everyone.
Love you.
Bye.
Good night.